There is something they told you was impossible, something they taught you to seek outside, in stone temples, in foreign words, in doctrines written centuries ago by hands trembling with uncertainty. They told you the kingdom was far away, that you had to earn it through sacrifice, that it was reserved for the saints, the pure, the chosen. They told you that you were in small, 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 but they never told you the truth that was whispered in silence, the one that was entrusted only to those who had ears to hear beyond words. The truth that was hidden not out of malice, but to pause here, because this truth does not make you smaller. This truth makes you infinite, and the infinite frightens those who build walls. The infinite dissolves hierarchies. The infinite cannot be controlled. That's why they told you to seek outside. That's why they told you to wait. That's why they told you that you would never be enough. But today, here, in this instant that you breathe, something ancient awakens in you, something that is not new, but forgotten, something that is not learned, but remembered. And that something is this: the kingdom is not in any place, the kingdom is within you. Breathe, breathe, breathe slowly, because what you are about to remember is not a teaching, it is an awakening, and awakenings hurt. They hurt because they break the dream. They hurt because they illuminate the shadows. They hurt because they show you that you have been searching in the desert for what was always in your heart. But that pain is sacred. That pain is sacred. That pain is the first step of the return. Because you are not learning something new. You are remembering who you are. You are remembering what you forgot when they taught you to look at yourself through foreign eyes. You are remembering the truth that was buried under centuries of interpretations, translations, dogmas, and fears, and that truth is simply, so simply that the complexity of your mind rejects it, so simply that you need to breathe 3 times before accepting it, so simply that it changes everything. The kingdom of God is within you, not tomorrow, not in another place, not after death. Now, here, in this body that breathes, in this consciousness that reads these words, in this silence that exists between your thoughts, here, always here. But this was not what they taught you. It was not what they preached from the pulpits. It was not what they wrote in the catechisms. Because what they taught you was an edited, diluted, institutionalized version of something that was once pure fire. They taught you to wait for the kingdom. They taught you to ask for it. They taught you to earn it with obedience. But they never taught you the truth that Jesus whispered to those who walked closest to him. The truth that was not written in all the Gospels. The truth that was lost in translations and councils. The truth that was considered too dangerous to be shared openly. Because if people knew that the kingdom is within them, why would they need intermediaries? If they knew that divinity dwells in their own chest, why would they need temples? If they knew that God's light breathes with them, why would they need permission to pray, to heal, to forgive, to love? The truth is that there were teachings that were not for the multitudes. There were words that were spoken in low voices, on dark nights, far from the gazes of those who could not bear the immensity of the real. There were moments when Jesus looked into the eyes of his closest disciples and told them, "To you it has been given to know the mystery of the kingdom." Not to everyone, to you, to those who were prepared, to those who could hold that truth without fainting, to those who could understand that the kingdom is not a place you arrive at, but a presence that awakens. And that mystery was not a doctrine, it was not a rule, it was not a list of commandments. It was an invitation, an invitation, an invitation to look inward, an invitation to stop searching, an invitation to simply be present, be conscious, be complete, be concision, be complete. Because the kingdom is not something that is built, it is something that is revealed. And it is revealed when you stop fleeing from yourself, close your eyes for a moment, just a moment, feel the weight of your body wherever you are, feel the temperature of the air touching your skin, feel the slight movement of your breath, in, out, in, out, in, out. You are not doing anything special. You are not meditating according to a method. You are not following a technique. You are not following a technique. You are simply being aware that you are alive, that you breathe, that you exist. And in this instant, in this precise instant, something changes. Because when you are fully aware of your breathing, when your mind is not projected into the future or trapped in the past, when you are simply here, now, in this body that breathes, you touch the kingdom. You don't seek it, you touch it, because the kingdom is not a concept. It is not a future promise. It is not a heavenly reward. The kingdom is presence. The kingdom is consciousness. The kingdom is the infinite space in which everything exists, and that space is within you. It has always been within you. It never left. You just stopped looking at it. But they taught you to seek it outside. They taught you that it will come one day with trumpets and angels, with judgment and fire, with separation between the saved and the lost. They taught you to fear it. They taught you to earn it. They taught you that you were not enough as you are. And so you began to run toward perfection, run toward holiness, run toward divine approval. But every step you took moved you further away from what you were seeking. Because the kingdom is not found by running. The kingdom is found by stopping. The kingdom is found by stopping. The kingdom is found in stillness, in silence, in surrender. But the kingdom is not something you conquer. It is something you allow. You allow it to emerge from your own center. You allow it to reveal itself in your own breath. You allow it to shine through your own eyes. You are not the one who enters the kingdom. It is the kingdom that manifests through you. When you stop resisting, when you stop pretending, when you stop seeking outside what was always inside. Jesus said it in so many ways. He said it in parables so that only those who truly listened could understand. He spoke of the kingdom as a seed, a small, invisible, planted in the dark earth of your interior. You cannot see it grow. You cannot force it. You can only water it with presence, with silence, with attention. And one day, without knowing how, it sprouts. It becomes a tree so large that the birds of the sky nest in its branches. And those birds are your thoughts. They are your emotions. They are all the parts of you that finally find rest in the vastness of your own being. He spoke of the kingdom as a treasure hidden in a field, a treasure that is right, where you step, but you don't see because you are looking at the horizon. A treasure for which, when you find it, you sell everything you have. Not because the treasure is something you possess, but because the treasure is you. The treasure is the awareness of your own divinity. And once you find it, everything else loses importance, because you no longer need to fill your life with distractions. You no longer need external validation. You no longer need to seek love outside, because love is you, peace is you, the kingdom is you. But this was considered heretic, dangerous, subversive. Because if each person is a temple, why do we need churches? If each person has direct access to God, why do we need priests? If each person is complete as they are, why do we need external saviors? That's why these teachings were silenced. That's why the Gospels that contained them were excluded from the official canon. That's why the mystics who proclaimed them were persecuted. Because truth cannot be controlled. Truth cannot be sold. Truth does not need institutions. Truth is free. And the truth is this: you are the temple, you are the altar, you are the priest, you are the prior. There is nothing you need to do to be worthy of the kingdom, because the kingdom is not something that is earned. The kingdom is what you are when you stop pretending to be something else. Breathe again, deeper this time. Feel how the air enters through your nose, fills your lungs, expands your chest. Feel how the air touches every cell of your body. Feel how the air touches life. It is light. It is God breathing through you. It is not you who breathes. It is life itself that breathes in you. And if life breathes in you, what more do you need? What more proof do you need that the divine dwells in you? Your lungs do not belong to you. Your heart does not belong to you. Your consciousness does not belong to you. Everything is a gift. Everything is grace. And that grace does not wait for you to be perfect. That grace does not wait for you to be holy. That grace simply is. And you are that grace manifesting as human form, as flesh, as bone, as thought, as emotion, as flesh, as bone, as thought, as emotion, as presence. You are grace walking on earth. You are the kingdom in motion, not tomorrow, now. The closest disciples knew this. Those who walked with him in silence, those who sat by the fire while the others slept, those who asked the questions no one else dared to ask. To them it was revealed, not because they were more special, not because they were poorer, but because they were willing to let go of their preconceived ideas. They were willing to die to the image of God they had been taught. They were willing to find God in the most unlikely place, within themselves. And when they found it, everything changed. They no longer needed to seek signs in the sky. They no longer needed to wait for an external Messiah. They no longer needed sacrifices in temples, because they themselves had become living temples, because they themselves had awakened to the kingdom. And that awakening was not a mystical experience reserved for a chosen few. It was the basic reality of human existence. It was simply seeing what was always there. It was simply remembering what they always knew. It was simply returning home. And home is not a place. Home is a state of presence, a state of acceptance, a state of unity. Because when you are in the kingdom, there is no separation. There is no I and God. There is no inside and outside. There is no I and there. Everything is one. Everything is now. Everything is sacred. The cup of coffee in your hands is sacred. The sound of the wind in the trees is sacred. The beating of your heart is sacred. Not because you did something to make it sacred, but because the sacred is the very nature of reality, and you are part of that reality. You are not a visitor in this universe. You are an expression of this universe. You are the universe looking at itself, experiencing itself, loving itself, And when you understand this, when you really understand it, not in your mind but in every cell of your being, the kingdom opens, like a flower, like a sunrise, like the first breath after being underwater. But you cannot force this awakening. You cannot study it intellectually. You cannot achieve it through effort. Because effort implies that you are the one doing it. It implies that there is something you need to obtain. It implies that you are not enough now. And that is the greatest illusion. The illusion of lack. The illusion of separation. The illusion that God is somewhere and you are somewhere else, and you need to build a bridge between the two. But there is no bridge to build, because there never was distance. The distance was created by your mind, by your thoughts, by your judgments, by your fears. And when those thoughts kate, when those judgments dissolve, when those fears surrender, what remains is the kingdom, pure, simple, obvious, always present, like the sky behind the clouds, like the silence behind the noise, like the light behind your closed eyelids. Close your eyes again. This time, remain like this a little longer. Feel the darkness behind your eyelids. It's not really darkness, is it? It's a kind of soft luminosity, a light that doesn't come from outside, a light that is simply there. It was always there. Even when your eyes are open, that light is there. It is the light of consciousness itself. It is the light that allows you to see. The light that allows you to know that you exist. The light that allows you to experience this moment. And that light has no beginning or end. It was not born with you. It will not die with you, because that light is not yours. You are that light. You are that light. You are the consciousness that illuminates all experience. You are the space in which everything appears. You are the silent witness of your own life. And that witness is the kingdom. That witness is God. That witness is what the mystics called the Christ within. Not the man Jesus, but the divine presence that they embodied. The divine presence that you also embody, because there are not two consciousnesses. There is not your consciousnesses, there is not your consciousness and God's consciousness. There is one consciousness, one light, one presence, and that presence manifests as millions of different forms, as trees, as rivers, as mountains, as stars, as you, as me, as everything that exists. This is the secret teaching, the teaching that cannot be written in books, the teaching that cannot be preached from pulpits, because it is not an intellectual teaching. It is an experiential revelation. It is something that must be lived, not learned. It is something that must be felt, not thought. It is something that must be remembered, not discovered, because you already know it. You always knew it. When you were a child, before they taught you who you are supposed to be, you knew it. You knew that you were infinite. You knew that you were one with everything. You knew that the sky and the earth and the stars were part of you. But then they taught you to forget. They taught you that you were small. They taught you that you were separate. They taught you that you were a sinner. And so began the exile from the kingdom. Not because you were expelled, but because you were expelled, but because you forgot that you never left, and now you are returning. Not because you have traveled a great distance, but because you are remembering. You are remembering who you are. You are remembering who you are. You are remembering that the kingdom was never far away, that the kingdom was never in the future, that the kingdom was never in the future, that the kingdom was never in the future, in your breath, in your heartbeat, in the space between your thoughts, in the silence that exists when your mind quiets, in the peace you feel when you stop resisting, in the love that arises when you stop judging, in the light that shines when you stop hiding. That is the kingdom, and that is you. Jesus tried to tell you this in 1,000 different ways. He said, the kingdom of God is among you, not above, not far away, among you, in the midst of you, within you. He said, the kingdom of God does not come with visible signs. They will not say, it is here or it is theirs, because the kingdom of God is within you, within, not tomorrow, not in heaven, within, now, here. He said, if those who guide you tell you, the kingdom is in heaven, then the birds of heaven will arrive before you. If they tell you, it is in the sea, then the fish will arrive before you. Rather, the kingdom is within you and outside of you, because when you awaken to the inner kingdom, you see that the kingdom is also in everything external. You see that everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Everything is one. Everything is God manifesting in infinite forms. But these words were ignored. They were reinterpreted. They were diluted because they were too radical, too subversive, too liberating. Because if each person has the kingdom within themselves, then each person is sovereign. Each person is complete. Each person has direct access to the divine. And that did not suit those who built religious empires, those who sold indulgences, those who controlled the masses with fear of hell. That's why these teachings were buried. That's why the Gnostic Gospels were prohibited. That's why the mystics were silenced, because truth cannot be sold, truth cannot be controlled, truth can only be lived. And the truth is this, you are free. You were always free. You never needed permission to approach God, because God was never separate from you. God is the life that beats in your chest. God is the consciousness that reads these words. God is the love you feel when you embrace someone. God is the peace you experience when you look at a sunset. God is not an external entity. God is the very presence of existence, and you are that presence taking human form. So what do you do with this knowledge? How do you live from the kingdom? Not by changing anything, not by becoming someone special, not by abandoning your life, simply by being conscious, simply by being present, simply by remembering again and again that the kingdom is here. When you wash the dishes, the kingdom is here. When you walk down the street, the kingdom is here. When you hug your child, the kingdom is here. When you cry, the kingdom is here. When you laugh, the kingdom is here. Because the kingdom is not a state of perfection. The kingdom is the acceptance of all that is. It is saying yes to life as it presents itself. It is stopping resisting. It is a stopping judging. It is a stopping trying to be something else. It is simply being human, being vulnerable, being real, being you. Because you, as you are, with all your imperfections, with all your wounds, with all your doubts, are a perfect expression of the kingdom. You don't need to fix yourself. You don't need to improve yourself. You only need to recognize what you already are. And when you recognize it, when you really see it, something is released in you. A tension you have carried all your life. A search that has kept you running. A feeling that something is missing. All of that dissolves, because you realize that nothing was ever missing, that you were always complete, that you were always enough, that you were always loved, not for something you did, not for something you achieved, but simply because you exist, because you are, because existence itself is love, and you are existence. You are love manifesting as form, as a story, as journey, as return. Now, open your eyes slowly. Look around you. Look at the objects in the room. Look at the light entering through the window. Look at your own hands. And ask yourself, is it possible that all of this is sacred? Is it possible that there is nothing profane? Is it possible that every atom of this universe is an expression of the divine? And if the answer is yes, if you can feel even for an instant that everything is sacred, then you are seeing with the eyes of the kingdom. Then you are seeing as Jesus saw. Then you are awake, not completely perhaps, not permanently yet, but you have had a glimpse. You have touched the kingdom, and that glimpse is enough, because once you touch it, you never completely forget it. You may fall asleep again. You may get lost in your thoughts again. You may believe you are small again, but that glimpse will remain, like a seed, like a light in the darkness, like a memory that calls you back home. And home is not a distant place. Home is this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, this instant in which you are fully here, fully present, fully you. Because the kingdom is not something you reach. The kingdom is something you reach. The kingdom is something you embody. You embody it when you speak from truth. You embody it when you act from love. You embody it when you live from presence. And you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. You only have to be real. You only have to be honest. You only have to be real, because you, in your authenticity, are a door to the kingdom. Because when you are really you, without masks, without defenses, without pretensions, others can see in you what is possible. They can see that it is safe to be real. They can see that it is possible to live from the heart. They can see that the kingdom is not a fantasy. The kingdom is a lived reality. This was the secret teaching. This was the revelation that Jesus shared with those who could receive it. It was not a secret because it was helosigarrose, gordi. It was a secret because it can only be understood by those who are ready to die. Die to their ideas, die to their image, die to their image, die to their image, die to their need for control, die to their image, not as a future event, not as a heavenly promise, but here, now, in this body, in this life, in this moment. To be born again is to awaken to the kingdom. To be born again is to remember who you are. To be born again is to see with new eyes what was always here. And when you are born again, everything changes. Not because the world changes, but because you change. Because you no longer look from lack, you no longer look from fear, you no longer look from separation, you look from the kingdom. You look from fullness, you look from love. And that love is not a feeling. That love is what you are. It is your fundamental nature. It is the substance you are made of. Not romantic love, not conditional love, but the love that simply is. The love that needs no reason. The love that needs no obscure. The love that cannot be lost because it was never won. The love that is the very essence of consciousness. The love that is God, and you are that love. You don't have it. You are it. You are it. And when you live from that love, the kingdom expresses itself through you in every word, in every action, in every gesture, in every silence. Not because you are trying to be spiritual, not because you are following a path, but because you have returned to your original nature. You have returned to the garden. You have returned to Eden. not as a place lost in the past, but as a state of consciousness recovered in the present, because Eden was never a geographical place. Eden was always a state of unity, a state before separation, a state before judgment, a state before shame, a state in which you simply were, and that state was not lost. It was forgotten, and now it is being remembered through you, through this reading, through this moment, through this breath. You are returning to Eden. You are returning to the kingdom, not because you have traveled far, but because you have stopped running, you have stopped searching, you have stopped pretending, and in that stillness, in that surrender, in that acceptance, the kingdom is revealed, not as something new, but as what always was, as what always is, as what you will always be. Breathe deeply. Feel how your chest rises and falls. Feel how your body relaxes. Feel how something in you opens. It is not your mind. Your mind may still be full of questions. Your mind may still be full of questions. Your mind may still be full of doubts. But something deeper in you knows. Something deeper in you recognizes these words. Something deeper in you has been waiting for this reminder. And that something deeper is the kingdom. It is the silent witness. It is the silent witness. It is the conscious presence. It is what you were before. They taught you who you are supposed to be. It is what you will be after everything else dissolves. It is what you are now, behind all your thoughts, beneath all your emotions, at the very center of your being. And that center has no limits. That center is infinite. That center is eternal. That center is divine. That center is you, not the small you, not the you that has a name and a story and an identity, but the real you, the essential you, the you that exists before thought, the you that observes all thoughts, the you that remains when everything else changes. That you is the kingdom, that you is the answer, that you is what you have been seeking, and you have found it. Not because you did something special, not because you were worthy, but because you stopped seeking for a moment, because you allowed the truth to find you, because you opened your heart enough to receive what was always offered, the kingdom, here, now, in you. And now that you know it, now that you have touched it, even for an instant, what will you do? You don't have to do anything. You don't have to change anything. You don't have to proclaim it to the four winds. The kingdom does not need to be defended. The kingdom does not need to be explained. The kingdom only needs to be lived. Lived in silence, lived in presence, lived in love. And when you live it, others will feel it. Not because you preach to them, not because you teach them, but because your very presence will be a reminder. Your peace will be a reminder. Your love will be a reminder that it is possible, that the kingdom is not a fantasy, that the kingdom is real as the air you breathe, as real as the ground you walk on, as real as the love you feel. So if these words found you, if this message resonated deep in your being, it was not a coincidence. It was the kingdom calling you back. It was your own soul reminding you who you are. It was life itself whispering to you, come home. Stop searching. Stop running. You are here. You have already arrived. The kingdom is in you. And if you feel that someone else needs to hear this, if you feel that someone else is seeking what you have found, share these words, not as one who shares a teaching, but as one who shares water in the desert, as one who shares light in the darkness, as one who shares light in the darkness, as one who shares light in the darkness, as one who shares light in the world that forgot how to love. Share from silence, share from humility, share from the kingdom. Because when you share from the kingdom, you are not giving something you have. You are being what you are, and what you are is enough, more than enough. It is infinite, it is eternal, it is divine, it is divine. It is the kingdom manifesting as you, as me, as all of us. One kingdom, one light, one consciousness, awakening to itself. One breath at a time, one heart at a time, one soul at a time, until we all remember, until we all remember, until we all return to the home we never left. Breathe, smile, you are home.